I'm loopbraider, Ingrid. I'm going to be showing you how to make an 8-loop version of the spiral braid. This is the classic version, really, the lace bend round of 8 bows, meaning loops, from the 15th century. It's a very fun braid to do. Here's a 6-loop version that I've already... let's see where we can hold this so it shows it with a white background. I'm making these series of video tutorials as supplements to a bigger tutorial with some more details about things like this fun loop start with no ends and fringes and different things that I'm going to be filing with the Braids and Bands Yahoo list, which is a discussion group, online discussion group of the Braid Society that anyone can join. You don't have to be a member of the Braid Society. But anyway, I want to rush through some of the things I'm going to cover in this video, and one of them is I've been talking about, this is going to be the 8-loop version, I said. One of the things is I mention, and I have explained this in the tutorial, that you can make other designs than a spiral with this braiding method. This is an example. This is a very reduced version. This is just a 4-loop version of the spiral braid done with the lengthwise stripe version, which comes out. The classic way of doing this braid imparts a twist to the braid, which doesn't have to be there. I kind of like it, you know, like as a bracelet. I think that for the lengthwise stripes, it sort of shows off the stripes. In the spiral braid, the spiral design itself hides the twist. I mean, the twist isn't visible at all because the whole surface design has a twist to it. There is a way that I explain, and I'm not going to probably have time to go into in this video, but it's in my other clips. There's a way to do this braid that results in no torque, no twist to the overall braid. If you wanted to do the stripes, which, boy, I'm not being very clear. I am going to demonstrate the striped pattern as well as the spiral pattern in this video. I'm going to demonstrate how to do the stripe pattern, but I'm not going to, it's going to have a little torque to it. You'll have to go to the other videos to see the method of doing it without that torque, which is quite possible to do. So I had just laid my loops down. I'm going to put them up, semi-right order. One way I normally put loops down, if I'm really going to take a break, is to put them on a comb or a set of pegs. I have more information about that on my blog. If you're interested in loop braiding, do check out my blog. The link to it is below this, in the extra information below this video. If you click on the extra info, you'll see it. I am loopbraider. Okay, so I'm going to start. I've already started a little bit with this braid. You can see the spiral. This is fairly substantial yarn to show in the video. Rather thick for a spiral braid. Kind of cool. This with 8 loops, it's enough to show up even with fine silk thread. Okay, so we'll do a little more. Hopefully you've already seen my simpler tutorial, the simpler versions of this braid with 4 loops and 6 loops. This is, you can probably guess how this is. Let's bring the hands up here. Whoa. I'm sorry, I think I'm going to have to shorten this header cord. If you've done the 6-loop version, you can probably even guess what the 8-loop version is going to be. You're going to be doing the same type of alternating moves. Kind of a peculiar asymmetrical, let's make this even shorter, asymmetrical feeling to these moves. And it's different for left-handers and right-handers. I mean, you can do it the other way. I did the left-handed videos myself, even though I'm not left-handed, but it's more comfortable to do it in the direction of your dominant hand. That'll work better. You can probably guess what it is, and I won't go quite as slowly because my other videos showing the other versions of this have the same move. So if you want to rehearse it with a nice slow video, you can go to the 4 or 6 loop videos. Basically, you're going to have 4 loops of one color on one hand, 4 loops of a contrasting color on the other hand, and the loops are going to exchange between pairs of fingers, and these are always the same pair of fingers. The first move is always going to be index to pinky, little finger. These 2 loops are going to exchange again and again and again and again. They'll never exchange with any other loops. So they're mated in this braid. Next will be the second move. These 2 fingers. Let's see, where am I? It's the middle finger, the opposite hand ring finger. Next move is going to be ring finger and opposite hand, middle finger. The last move, as you might have guessed, is going to be the other pair of index and little fingers. So, and then it starts again all the way down here. You don't go up, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's 1, the move sequence of moves is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way back down to 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll get going, and I know this will probably be too quick, but like I said, you can check out the other ones because I want to get to some fun things like how to split this braid. And so here comes move 1, tighten all the way out to the side. 2, tighten. 3, tighten, and 4, tighten. 1, tighten. 2, tighten. 3, tighten, and 4. Okay, I'll have mercy on you a little slower. I should go slower myself. I haven't been doing this braid much, so let's go slower. Just a few rounds. 1, tighten. Anticipating which fingers are going to be next as I tighten. 2, tighten. I can feel it coming. Yeah, ring and pointer. 3, tighten, and the last one, 4, tighten. Very helpful with this braid before you start to practice that with a tightening move in between, because that can throw you off. To practice that sequence of how the fingers meet up. I just messed myself up here. It really can help kind of cement it before you start the actual braiding process. So what I want to show you now, I've gotten down a little bit of a spiral, is a way to, in all my other braids tutorials, I've demonstrated how to split your braid, either to make little braidlet ends on your braid. There's some messy one. They're not messy, braided messily. There's an inherent twist to the two-loop braid that you can dampen and get rid of. Here, I think there's a shadow that way. Here's that one. But I've also demonstrated how to make a loop, how to separate into 2 mini braids and make a loop in your braid. I'm not going to show here how to do it at the top with no fringe hanging out, but I will show how to divide it in a really fun way for the 8-loop braid. Here in the 3-loop braid, I divided it for the loop portion. I always put a loop, almost always put a loop in the top and or bottom of a braid. It's just very handy. You don't need to use it, but you know, you might someday. It's great for looping through something and then looping the other end of the braid through it, or a key fob, or whatever. Here I had 3 loops on this side, 3 on this side, because it was a 6-loop braid, and I just did a 3-loop square braid on both sides. But with the 8-loop spiral, you can actually divide it into 2 mini 4-loop spirals, and that just looks really nice. It's, you know, you're starting with a spiral braid, and then it divides into 2 smaller spirals. It's how cool is that? So I'm going to show that, and it's best if you've already watched the video for the 4-loop braid. You know, I probably should have gotten a comb out and shown you how I put these on a comb holder when I set loops down, especially a whole set of braids, but I am just going to let them go. So I'm going to put down 2 of one color and 2 of the other color, and just keep 2 of each. And now I'm going to do a 4-loop spiral, and this is just what we already hopefully maybe learned. I have a video up for it, so you can certainly learn it if you haven't yet. And let me see which. Doesn't really matter. I do want to make sure that I keep pulling this back now and then, so I tighten it up. Okay, so 2 loops in each hand of each color, and now I'm going to start doing the 2-loop spiral braid. So I'm putting that one on, bringing that one through, tighten. That was move number 1. Here's move number 2. Tighten. That's all there is to that. I'm just going to temporarily park those loops and pull these ones, tug these ones again out of the way, tug them, these ones back up. So I know I'm at the end of the cycle because the colors are back together on each hand, so I'm going to start with one. If they were, and that's when I usually only stop at the end of the cycle if I'm going to do something. So here comes the first move of the cycle. Second move. Don't worry, I'm not going especially fast, but don't worry that you can't keep up, because you can go back to the other videos and learn this. This is not to teach the 4-loop spiral. This is just showing how you'll be able, once you know it, from the other video on it, videos, there's left and right-handed versions, you'll be able to split your 8-loop spiral braid into 2 little 4-loop spiral braids to make a loop. Now, let's see if that's long enough. Just depends on, let's see, there we go. Depends on how long you want your loop to be. I don't have a lot of time on this, so I'm just going to stop here. And now I have to get the loops back in onto the hands they belong on, which they aren't on right now. So I'm just going to pick these up in any reasonably... Oh wait, I'm not... Here I am, totally forgetting to do my other... to drop that. Somehow I'd leaped ahead in my brain and my mind and was to the point where we were joining our 2 braids, so I hadn't even made the second one. So let's make it. Okay. These in some kind of reasonable looking order. Let's put them more like that. That looks a little twisty, but it's probably fine. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing on this hand. So 1. If I hadn't been chattering away, I could have counted how many cycles I did, or probably I ought to be able to look at the other braid and sort of figure it out. I'm just going to eyeball it and let's see, am I doing that? Yeah, that's okay. Eyeball it, and when it seems about as long as the other one, then I'll stop, and that's when I'll join them again. And we'll have our very fun, let's see, loop made out of 2 spirals. This looks really nice as a top loop to the braid, which I am going to cover in my... This one's a bit longer. I'm going to actually undo a little bit of it. 1, 2. Okay. Is that... I mean, it really doesn't matter if one side is a tad longer. Okay, so now I'm going to pick them up, and this is where I thought I was before. Pick them up some way or other. This braid is actually fairly forgiving of mistakes, the spiral braid, as long as, I didn't mention this, and it's a good thing I am now, as long as at the end of the cycle, you just, after, here it's, the cycle is 4 moves, at the end of 4 moves you start all over again, and at that point the darks and lights have to have come back to the opposite hand. They have to be together. The darks have to be together in one hand and the lights do. If you come to the end of your cycle, you've made 4 moves, and they're mixed up, like say they look like this, oh no, you know you did 4 moves, somehow they're mixed up, just put them back. If you don't want to bother anyway undoing back to your mistake, which really actually isn't that hard to do, but I don't suppose if you're just starting this braid you'll want to. If you've made a mistake, if at the end of your 4 moves, somehow you've exchanged the wrong loops and they're mixed up on the fingers, they're not, all the darks are not on one side all the way, just put them there, which is actually what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to, I think I'll just pull these ones over. Let's try that. Yeah. So just put them there, and it tends to be a pretty forgiving braid of mistakes. And if you get them back, you've made a mistake, you get them, and you don't want to analyze it and figure it out, just put them on the right hand where they belong and keep going, and your spiral pattern will be there. Maybe there'll be a little glitch at that point, but if you don't do that, if you keep braiding, if you start at move number 1 and all the lights aren't on one side and all the darks aren't on the other, you will not have a spiral anymore. It'll be something else. So